Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. A good time had by all. I'm PD Rave, and I'm a little bit neither country or rock and roll, more like confusing old like 90s punk rock. I don't know. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my quorum. We've got David.
Don't like that.
We've got Matt.
Hey everybody.
Yeah. And we've got Brett.
I still cannot find for the life of me whether or not there is a High Times 1974 top strain. I cannot. I don't have the time to do the journalistic endeavors, but just imagine the weird what I'm seeing from the 70s.
Hit us up.
You might find a man who's on this album.
Yeah. Hey, old stoners, give us in the comments. Let us know, all you boomer stoners listening to this podcast.
maybe older. Maybe the greatest generation was hanging around for some of that.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments if we could find out about the High Times greatest strain, 1974.
You keep throwing me off because there was a Grateful Dead song on Working Man's Dead called High Time.
Yes.
Of course there was. Of course there was.
The pinnacle of culture and subculture is High Times magazine of 1970s vintage. I mean,
yes,
it's a thing that, but not a thing that I am.
In the words of Sherman McDaniels, American culture peaked in 1973.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the advertisements that are in the back of old High Times and other counterculture magazines of the 70s, and you'll be blown away.
Yeah. We're talking about an album. Let's get to the album we're talking about this week.
Everybody, only one of us is high on this podcast right now, so let's go. Petey, take it away.
We're all high on.
I'm high on life.
High on life.
Yeah, and caffeine.
Panama Red.
And I had a cafecito earlier, a little bit earlier, but so I'm on caffeine. Matt, what have you brought for us? What have you brought to the table? What have you done to us?
I have brought the album by the New Riders of the Purple Sage, their 1973 album, The Adventures of Panama Red. The New Riders were an offshoot of the Grateful Dead. It started out with Jerry Garcia on pedal steel, and David Nelson, the guy who played that first lead on Box of Rain on the last album I brought, he's in this band too.
Yeah. Let's talk about expectations, because I don't know if we had any expectations, but I'd love to hear them anyways. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I've said many times on this podcast that I still can't quite figure out what music Matt enjoys. But in recent episodes, I'm starting to get a better idea. And when I looked this group up, I saw Grateful Dead and I saw country rock. And now I'm starting to get an idea. I'm starting to get an idea of what Matt enjoys overall. And I pretty much had a clear idea of what I was getting into with this album. It was going to be stoner rock that wants to be country. It's stoner rock that has twang instead of drone.
Yeah. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I'm not one that listens to hippie music, folk music, or country music of the 70s. So I knew that there was the New Riders of the Purple Sage only because is there the new Riders? I think yes, there was the
familiar.
new Riders from 82 to 97. I only knew it because of when we were looking at Grateful Dead like side project type things, I was like, there's both the new writers and the new writers. It's like having the two Denny's. But no, other than their name, I did not know. And boy, they let me know exactly what they were within the first 5 seconds.
I didn't quite know what we were gonna get into with because we'd experienced Grateful Dead, but we weren't sure what exactly this whole other project and idea was gonna be. Even when I heard it was gonna be like, even when I saw that it was gonna be somewhat country, I wasn't quite sure
cover
what.
art.
Yeah, it was the cover art. It's a heck of a cover on that album. It's
That's a great cover.
Yeah, yeah. It is fantastic. Yeah, Matt, what is? How would you describe this album musically? What's going on here?
What the hell is this, Matt?
I don't know, man. No, this is I don't know if this is a genre, but I'm gonna call it one of my favorite genres, which is country music about drugs. You could call it cosmic country if you wanted.
Oh, that's good. Is that
yeah.
a thing? Is that a thing? Which should be.
I
I
feel
think we
like
just
I've heard that
experienced
term
it.
before, but it's not on Wikipedia, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
I swear I've heard cosmic country before as like, kind of the Birds and Buffalo Springfield and all that.
Is there like a modern
ilk.
cosmic country where like
I'm seeing
country
what
artists don't
I'm
mind a
seeing,
little bit of the
I'm
wacky
seeing,
back?
I'm seeing
Suspect.
cosmic American music is a maybe a
Cosmic
That's
Americana.
pretty broad, but
Cosmic
sure.
Americana. That's what it is.
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
folk music knows drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's cosmic country, or you could call it country rock as well.
or
But
psychedelic
it's-
Americana.
Sure, psychedelic
Ooh, that's
Americana.
good
It's a bunch of guys playing on mostly electric instruments. There's a bunch of hot steel playing on this, thanks to Buddy Cage on pedal steel.
You don't say. Like, it's not featured on every single song.
Yeah. When you listen to the guitar playing, you realize the reason for that. Don't come at me, David Nelson, please. And also, the drummer for Jefferson Airplane is in this band, and I probably knew that at some point, but I forgot about it. And I don't know. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah. David, how would you describe this album musically?
My microphone just totally caught me off guard. I would describe this as a bunch of guys that wanted to do a country album, but didn't want to be country, he says with air quotes. And I think they pretty much pulled it off. I love the name Cosmic Country. I think it should be a thing permanently. And I don't know how much Grateful Dead I hear in this. Maybe splashes, maybe sprankles. But there is definitely something here that is worth relaxing to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, relaxing. Brett, how
Relaxing.
would you? Yeah.
Which I did about 2 hours ago.
Yes. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I mean, my feelings about this change from second to second as I digest this album more fully. It kind of reminds me like if you were going to go to a Midwestern like classic car show that was in some parking lot, and there was like a bunch of old hippies that just got up on stage and started playing music with God knows what instruments they had with them, and like kind of harmonized. But somebody was like really hogging the licks, like every lick they could, and probably for a good reason. It's kind of like that, but like it's definitely hippie music. It's hippie music first. It's hippie music plus a steel guitar, which makes anything sound like it's country music. But like, but they
At least
definitely
on the
go
E9 neck.
the way that the hillbilly cello, the when you're really trying to sing a sad song about, like, let's say not a tear in your beer, but a little different kind of like everyman problems. Because let me tell you, country music knows how to be sad, and that the steel guitar has made money for many a players for playing that sad song, the sorry song of the country music man. But this was a little different. But like, God, it is country rock, but it's country rock like you would think that rock music was in the early 70s, which was could have been. There's probably an organ floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, there's you know, the lyrics of this song are not your normal country, because I don't know that I've ever heard a song written about a drug trafficker, an international drug trafficker, in any country music.
International harvester, but not international drug trafficker.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's some eastbound and down levels of hijinks, but like about hard drugs and sex workers. So yeah, it's a thing. But the steel guitar just takes you and delivers you to a completely different place. Like, I'm on the school bus.
Yeah.
The magic bus.
The magic.
Yeah.
Miss Frizzle. Oh, Miss.
Magic.
I can almost hear the brown corduroy pants and the maroon shirts with ruffles like, when I hear this as well. So it's that era of, like, they found a reverb tank, guys. Like, there's somebody had a reverb, like, and they plugged into it. Like, it's great.
Yes.
It's definitely of a time.
It's of a time. Yeah, this album it is a bunch of hippies trying to do country. And it sounds, and they kind of do take from country in the well and fun ways. You wonder if it was done as like with love or not. That might be up for debate.
I would say it's
earnest.
definitely out of love.
Yeah. But it was done well, and it's country rock. I like the idea that under the genre of the album they include country rock and outlaw country, which is I love the idea of these guys playing on a show with like Willie Nelson,
The Highwaymen.
Yeah,
Highwaymen,
Hank
or like
Jr.,
Hank, yeah,
David Allen
or
Coe.
somebody I might reference later.
Oh yeah.
Going further back to my idea that country music should be more open about being okay with drugs.
Exactly.
I mean, have you met the Southern rock? There's some brothers that I'd like to introduce you to.
No, I don't know if I
There's a couple sets of brothers I could send you to that know plenty about the drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They appropriated the drug part of rock and roll too.
Yeah, and I think they do it in a really fun way. This album it kind of does that. Yeah, the Buddy Cage's Pedal Steel takes you on a nice little, like, it kind of holds you throughout the whole experience. But there's a lot of fun with like the songs. Oh boy, the songs are.
The lyrical,
the lyrical, they've got the flow. They've got the lyrical flow and they've got some
lyrical miracles all over this.
Exactly.
turns of phrases like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of punny
they've
boomers.
Got bars. They've got country bars. And it is a fun time. If nothing else, it is a fun time. But it is done well. It's done country. Done well, borrowed, but it is a fun time. Let's talk about some of the key tracks as we get into these themes and thematic elements. Matt, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
I would say Panama Red, the opening track. Brett's right when he says within the first 5 seconds you know what you're getting into. It's fun. It's about a strain of weed And
Hey, it's not that guy on the cover who's looking real cool.
well, maybe it's both, because I mean, he will
Is
steal
that
your
like
woman, and
is that the logo?
I mean,
No, they
we
have
need to see.
I if they
That's
make
the
little weed
conquistador of
cigars,
dope.
that's a logo you put on a little like cigar-esque ring on like the
Oh.
joints, like the
Oh,
the
yeah.
loosies of
Yeah.
that weed. Like
Yeah,
The stickiest
no.
of the icky.
it's
you make cigarillos, yeah.
it's a great song. It's just fun. Lonesome LA Cowboy. Uh, this is the first that kind of gets, I would say, close to traditional country and western. In my opinion, there's kind of only two songs on this album that really get close to country and western. Otherwise, I would put it firmly in the country rock, and this is one of them. With just some really great lyrics. Also, forgetting everything I know until the next line comes along is, I don't know. There were some people who I think had fun while writing the lyrics. The other one,
I think they
One
may
Too
have been
Many
talking about
Swords.
cocaine on that one.
possibly, especially since the line before that was snorting coke.
Yes.
That may or may
line
not have
before it.
something to
I mean,
do with
that's that bendy neck straw. It's
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
gotta snort
sometimes
that
you
last
just,
little. Yeah.
you're trying to suck it up, but then you miss, and then it goes up your nose, and you're like, oh no, I snorted coke at the McDonald's. And
Yeah, they lay out the drug use front and center on that one.
Yeah.
Daisy was listening to that. She's like first she was like, "What are they trying to say?" And then when she heard it again, she's like, "Okay, now I understand that through their singing style." But yes,
yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's all of these songs. I think they're all fun. And there's some good, pretty good, like crying steel on this. One Too Many Stories is the other one that really kind of sticks out at me as being kind of a really country song rather than country rock. Just if only because of the lyrical content of, it's along the same lines as Your Cheatin' Heart, that kind of thing. There's really one song on here that I'm Thank the Day. I think this is my favorite song on the album. And this is a track that I can point to when I want to explain on pedal steel why I like the C6 neck over the E9 neck. And without getting too far in the details, the C6 neck makes these big, dense chords, and most country uses the E9 neck. And right away, you hear Buddy Cage just go for this big, dense kind of seventh, but with some extensions on top, and oh man, it's so good. And then he just plays this great ride on it as well. I didn't check to see if Mickey Adams provides an instruction on how to play this one as well, but it would not surprise me.
So you play that scale real slow, and then you bend all hell out of it. And then you do the same thing, and then you throw through some reverb and swell your pedal up a little bit, and then you unbend and hit. Yeah.
But don't swell it too much, because you don't want to pump the pedal. That's a mistake that a lot of beginner steel players make. The volume pedal is not for pumping. It's just for sustaining the notes. You should hear the attack.
I don't have anything about vocals or harmonies or lyrics to say about this, so I'm just gonna let Matt and Brett keep going.
Yeah. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I actually found a little bit of something on just about every track on this. I found the second track, It's All Right With Me, had a little bit of bounce to it. That was kind of fun. Lonesome LA Cowboy. It had a really amusing line. There are so many pretty people in this city. I swear some of them are girls. Yeah, I guess there was that whole issue of everyone in the 70s having long hair, and that making things a bit confusing for some people out there. Important Exportin' Man was the first track that I found had an acceptable balance of swing and twang, not tipping either way too far on the scale. But it ended right before it really got going. So that was a little disappointing. That one was just starting to get into gear. And
Fade
Matt,
Out is a coward's ending.
Yeah.
Matt,
Throwing down the yes, sir.
is this the one about the drug dealer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a song about a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Also, Kick in the Head was the second song on this album that I originally thought might have been a Frank Sinatra cover song. My bad. But
Also
yeah.
written by Robert Hunter, the songwriter for the Grateful Dead, who wrote all those other wonderful songs. And then this is good too.
Yeah.
It's an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
Not a Sinatra song.
No. Yeah. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I mean, the nothing really tops for me the opening of this album. I mean, it kept opening every about 29 and a half minutes.
Yeah,
for me, too.
that's the other thing. This album clocks in at under 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It flew.
Yeah. So in the loop, Panama Red, which you can only say it twice. You have to ask Panama Red and then ask a question. Panama Red, and because there are like three people harmonizing, you have like a chance of hitting one of the reds on key at least one time through the order. But it's been sung throughout this house in ways that no country
In harmony
music
or
has
no?
been.
In harmony or no?
No, it's more of a somebody says it's like a Marco Polo. You say Panama Red and somebody Panama Red's back to you.
Panama Red.
Yes.
Panama Red.
I mean, and yeah, the steel guitar plus those harmonies, like I was like, sign me up. I'll buy 2 tickets. Thank you. A Lonesome LA Cowboy. Drugs are bad kids. As at least they're not sustainable as a songwriting crutch.
Well, I mean, not really. Think about
I
it.
don't know how many of these guys are still chasing lyrics down from mountain of blow to mountain of blow.
Oh.
But no, it's a cautionary tale. Like, shouldn't.
Yeah.
If you have nothing to do, drugs don't give you something to do.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
But if you have something to do, drugs can make it better.
There you go. Like hanging out with the Grateful Dead, or hanging out with an important exporting man who's got a nose for the business.
Won't go wrong.
The loving song written about the guy who gets the good shit was not what I could have guessed. If you gave me 100 guesses of what will these songs be about, without like going through the names, obviously if I looked at that and thought long enough, but no, it came on and then I listened to it and then I listened to the lyrics. And I was like, wait a minute. But Teardrops in My Eyes is a song that in the rotation stuck with me as well because there were kind of the banjo rolls going on. Like it's Earl Scruggs, but he was also doing the Earl Scruggs thing. But instead of using your tuning key to do your pitch bends and stuff, you have these convenient pedals, and like you don't have to. You got so much more options, and also so many fewer options than a banjo. Which when it comes to that kind of it was very much different than the way that people normally play steel guitar, like doing rolls like that on the rest of this album. Like this was used more as a like it did things that they didn't do. Like it was there that we went through a wide variety of like Vegas lounge steel guitar. We had the whining high pitched. We had the licks that just kept going up, which is one of my favorite things. Like we don't need to go. We're heading up the neck. We're not coming back. And you had like I'm playing this because I have a guitar neck that's 10 miles long. I'm going to play it in like 8 octaves, the same note, and just let it ring. But playing something that sounded like a banjo was it stood out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The tracks of this album, there's some fun on each track, but how it starts with Panama Red, like it's just it just catches your attention. It just it hooks you. It just grabs you by the collar and just says, "We're going on an adventure." Like, get it, loser. We're going Panama Red, and it takes you on an adventure. And then, Lonesome L.A. Cowboy. It's just a nice, sultry song about doing cocaine and smoking drugs and stuff. It's like, it's just a fun, good time. And then there's some as been said all through about the other different ones. I think Cement, Clay, and Glass is a great closer for this album. I just kind of like enjoyed how it helped the album land. I just kind of liked the tone and the feel of that song. So just to talk about every track.
Well, that was the song that made me think of a car show of a ragtag bunch of old hippies that showed up in their van that went to Woodstock, and they're like, I brought my sitar.
Yes. Let's bring it back around the horn, talk about some conclusions, talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
First of all, Petey, I'm sorry. I keep bonking my microphone with the helmet. I'm sorry.
For
this
your own
album,
safety anyway, so that's good.
It's true. A lot of this album felt a bit undercooked, unfinished. I will not say unseasoned because that would just be mean. Undercooked, unfinished.
There was plenty of seasoning on this album.
Yes.
Right. It kind of felt like a collection of demos of short jams. And then they thought, yeah, that's good enough. And I'm sorry, guys, but a couple of runs of steel guitar just really aren't enough. Like this could have been more. This could have been better. And that's kind of my biggest gripe with this album, is just how underdone it felt. That can work in some aspects. It did not work here. All of these songs, I feel like, could have been fleshed out a little more and worked on a little more to make them better. It is a collection of songs that don't stay nearly long enough.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good way to put it. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, it was neat. I wouldn't call it something that I wouldn't call it a good album. I would call it a good time, but only if you are into like looking at, popular mechanics from 1975, like I am, and like poking around, or, let's say an Easy Rider magazine from 1971. You're like, what the hell are they selling in the back? Made out of what? It's a slice of time of a subculture that I didn't know existed. It was educational, and they really did flex that steel guitar.
Yes.
They leaned on that. Like, I'm just thinking, what if there was not a steel guitar in there? Like, what would we be talking about?
But
I have some other albums I can send you.
Yeah, but if there weren't steel guitar, then what would Buddy Cage be doing? We gotta.
I mean, just hanging out.
Yeah. Well, he's just hanging out.
He'd probably be playing with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. So I felt, this is when I found out this was going to be a country album, I figured I must do my due diligence, in a different capacity,
And
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 due diligence as well. Yes. As a broadcast journalist, professional broadcast journalist, I must do my research and my apply. It's like conversate, but for the word application. Apply rigorous testing towards its validity of its countryness. And I have, luckily, we have
Country
the
and
perfect
westernness.
country and
I
westernness.
I did all of that for its drugginess.
Yes. This country and western album, kind of put it through the test, and I could only think of one test. It's the country and western test. Though he may have been quite problematic, David Allen Coe did provide us with a good testing parameter.
I'll just take off my ears for a few seconds.
David Allen Coe did provide us in the song "You Never Even Call Me by My Name." He points out that Steve Goodman, who I think Matt might know the name as a name in country. Steve Goodman wrote that song, he asserting that it was the perfect country and western song. To which David Allen Coe said, "No, it is not the perfect country and western song, because it didn't have the following. It didn't have anything about mama, trains, trucks, prison, or getting drunk."
Or maybe it's the perfect country and western song, excuse me, because it didn't need any of those things.
Well, here's his test was okay. It needed those things. So of course Steve Goodman provided him the extra verse, the classic extra verse. "I was drunk the day my mom got out of prison, and I went to pick her up in the rain, but before I could get to the station in my pickup truck, she got run over by a damned old train." And then, boom, it was the perfect country and western song. To which I used those 5 parameters, and I tested this album. To which I found that it did have references to Mama in at least a couple of songs. And there was a reference to getting drunk. In particular, one of the songs that Matt mentioned, "One Too Many Stories," drinking whiskey, getting wasted. In addition to obviously the references to drugs and everything, it had a tenuous. You could argue that "L.A. Lady" references trains.
Hey, riding those fat white rails.
Different kind of trains. Depending on how you interpret the one-way fare, you could say, but it did not have anything about trucks or prison, as far as I could tell. So it was lacking. So, however you want to judge that parameter, that's where it sits. It's on a 2, maybe 3 out of 5 on the Steve Goodman, on the David Allen Coe, Steve Goodman scale of country westernness. So take that and make your own decisions. Matt, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
I would start by saying that it's perfectly all right that it is not ranked super high on the country and western song scale, the swang scale,
Right.
because some people may or may not posit that country and western is actually not a great genre, and there are other better genres such as cosmic country, which this album firmly sits in. I mean, it's a fun album. It's full of fun songs. I think, approach it with the right attitude of you're not gonna hear any great deep lyrics. You're not gonna hear any virtuoso musicianship other than maybe Buddy Cage. but it's fun. It's got some fun songs to play. Because I mean, heck, man, it's got a horn section, and nobody even mentioned that on Important Exporting Man, which every time, as a side note, every time I look at that track name, I feel certain that it got misspelled at some point, and it should be importing or important apostrophe exporting man, but apparently not. But no, it's I am the I will not be one to say that it's a great album. Uh, I will certainly be not one to say that there's great musicianship as a whole. But it's not a good album, but it's great it's near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Oh, it's got a greatness to it.
Yes.
It's not a
does
great
what
album.
It's doing in a
It
great
has
way.
greatness.
Yes, it possesses greatness. It exudes greatness. Yeah, those
You
are
can
fun.
ingest greatness from this album.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
can.
Those are our thoughts on new writers of the Purple Sage, the Adventures of Panama Red, Panama. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic form. Get him with the 575. Yeah, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. I'm still waiting for that cease and desist from the dude from from HQ.
Highly questionable?
No, I'm sure that there's going to be a cease and desist for some other reasons, but it's the other guy, the John Wazowski or whatever his name is.
Yes, Scott Rogowski.
Scott
No,
Rogowski.
but
Or Mike Wazowski?
yeah, that's what I was.
Close enough. David, what is your haiku?
Country Fried Kelly. The songs kind of meander and somehow too short.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Too Short.
Gosh.
Brett, what is your haiku?
God, too short, showing up too often. Hippies gone country. It's full of doobers and blow, folks. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
There's never enough too short.
Yeah. No, never enough. My haiku. It's kind of country. A heck of a lot of fun. And that's what matters. Last but not least, Matt, what is your haiku?
Cosmic country songs, some great steel guitar playing. Fun is had by all.
Yeah.
I did have fun with it.
Yes,
I just wish there was more.
Yeah. No, that import and exporting, man, that is the worst offender. I'm like, come on, man.
We were just getting into gear. We were just getting
It's
going.
226.
Especially-
They could have had more.
Yeah.
They
Especially
surely
when
had
you
more
consider
ideas.
that this was an offshoot of the Grateful Dead. Like, even their live shows, they play the songs super short.
Really?
As far as I know.
That's disheartening. That's disheartening to say the least.
Maybe they
could
didn't have any
more.
ideas. Maybe they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are our thoughts on the new writers, or just new writers of the Purple Sage. The Adventures of Panama Red. You can of course find this album on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. You know, the album is just called Record Breakers. The playlist is just called Record Breakers the home game. The link is on our show notes. Every episode has it right there in the show notes, so you can follow it. You can click on there. Should be on the show notes if you take a podcaster podcast catcher that takes the kind of like formatted notes. Should have those links there as well.
That whole spiel you just did, Petey, really sent me. Wow.
But But yeah, just find it there. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's going to be a guest episode. We're gonna have a friend, a guest that another guest that was recommended by David by DJM. Our new friend, Engine Veer came by and provided us. Or will come by as far as you guys are concerned. Provided us an album by Canadian rockers Voivod. The album is War and Pain. So look forward to that next week. But that'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Matt is at MRickW. Brett is at HeyBeatyBibbard, HIBBITYBIBBARD. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. The number 4 Record Breakers. That's how it's spelled. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com is the email. Rebelli.net is another shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and on Twitch.
And go into your pod feeder of choice and give PD Rave a good review, especially for you folks out there using Apple Podcasts. Go into Apple Podcasts, give Record Breakers 5 stars, give it a positive review. PD Rave works really hard on this, and I just kind of flounder around like an idiot. And Matt and Brett are really, really smart about what they're talking about. So go ahead and give these guys 5 stars. They work really hard on it.
Yeah. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify. Hey, we're on Spotify. Joe Budden's not on there anymore, but we're on there. So, you can replace his with ours if you want to.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah. Like that just happened. Yeah. Follow, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time. Hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Belly Podcast, baby.
Fighting.
Panama Red.
Panama Red.
Panama Red.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.